Welcome to today's video. We're going to do something really different. So we're going to explore all the different ways you can build an e-commerce website. So this is going to be great for anyone that wants to start afresh or just has no experience and wants to get started and learn. So it's a bit of a minefield trying to choose which platform to build on. But lucky for you, I've been doing that for 25 years. I've used a lot of the major ones. I've went with developers as well. I've done pretty much everything when it comes to that. I remember building my first e-commerce store on a very clunky online website editor called Homestead. And probably that was back as far as 2002. And I've been using different editors the whole way. But there are so many available now that it's very hard to get the right one for you guys with just my experience. Even though that's for 25 years I've been doing it and helping clients do it, I think it's really, really good to have a much broader view of the pros and cons and have other experts tell us what are the best ones. So one of the best ways that we can do that is using a tool. You might have already heard of it called Notebook LM. So here it is on the screen. And it's by Google. It's an AI research tool, and it helps you to understand anything. So what I've done with it, I've utilized it, and it's not perfect by any means. You can add your sources, be them videos, text, websites. You can add whatever you want. Give it some overview of how you want the output to be. Give it some prompts, some of which one I've put in down here. And it will then return multiple different outputs, whether you want videos, mind maps, infographics, quizzes, data tables, you name it. Any of these things up here, it can do a pretty good job of with the odd mistake. And we're going to run with it. I'm going to show you some of the good and bad sides of Google LM while using it to help us find out what are the best platforms to build an e-commerce website on today. So I've fed in some of the top YouTube videos from some of the biggest channels on what are the best platforms where they've reviewed 4, 5, 6, 7 platforms. I've put in my experience with all what I think are the best platforms, the pros and cons, and I've keyed in a couple of websites as well who have reviewed what they think are the best platforms. So what that is going to do is rather than just giving you my one-sided maybe slightly more narrow-minded experience, that is actually going to give you a really broad spectrum of views. I've asked it then to take all that and put it into a video for us, which I'm going to put in the channel for you guys to watch. And again, it's AI, but it's a really nice little overview. It's made a little mind map of it, so we're going to look at that. And then we've got some infographics. We're going to take a look at those as well. And I've brought up some of the websites that are mentioned in it, because let's take a little more detailed human look at it as well, because we can't fully rely on the AI output. So let's start with the mind map, which I kind of like. It's a pretty nifty little thing. So this is our e-commerce platforms guide. And straight away, I'm not 100% on how to lay this out, because we've got our popular choices here. We've got a few other budget entry options, which I actually personally don't like, but we'll look at them in a minute. Some alternatives on marketplaces. But then we've got the metrics, which I asked it to help clarify the best ones by. Now, first of all, the best one is not always going to be the one that AI chooses or the one that I say is right. We actually have to look at the pros and cons of each of those different options. And you've got to decide which one is right for you, because you might have coding experience. So maybe something where you can be a little bit more customized is going to be better than you. You might be completely terrible with tech and you want something that's just going to be easy. So we've got to look at those options as well. And then you've got to weigh up pros and cons yourself. But I'm just going to give you an overview of what are the pros and cons and what I think and what AI has come up with as the winner. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the one that you've got to use. So let's take a look at the selection metrics down here. So what I've asked it to concentrate on are ease of setup, of course. And again, if you're inexperienced in building e-commerce websites, then you want something much easier. And if you're very experienced, then of course, you might want something a bit more customizable, or you might even want to use some coding or some WordPress e-commerce sites that might be better for you. Cost and transaction fees, of course, that's very, very important. And sometimes those transaction fees you see at the start aren't all there is to it. Very often there's more to it. There's hidden fees when you sell products, when you add APIs. So we got to consider those things as well. And then the design flexibility. Are we just, do we have to stick to the templates that it's given us, or can we go a bit further? Can we customize things a bit deeper? And that's good to know. And then how much technical knowledge is actually required. So ease of setup is one thing, but do I need to be a coder to do this? Because for most people, especially myself, that's just not going to work. And then scalability and plugins. I'd like to think those are two separate things, but AI's decided they're the same. They're definitely not. How good is this platform for taking my website to the next level, for making it a big deal? And what plugins are available? That can be anything from SEO to speed optimization to maybe some AI chat models. Pretty much anything you've seen on a website, you should be able to get a plugin for it on the right platform. So we're going to take a look at all those things. And I've asked it to score each of our main platforms using these metrics. So quickly, we'll just take a look at the marketplace alternatives. And it skipped out one of the biggest ones, eBay, in my opinion. But look, actually somebody in the school platform asked, do you really need a website nowadays? Sure, you can just sell on social media or on a marketplace. Well, I think that's kind of crazy thing to say for the very simple reason that your website doesn't matter about social trends. It's not going to take marketplace fees off you, which can sometimes be as high as 20%. You can control how you place on Google with good SEO, and these things can't be done with marketplaces. Yes, I do recommend using them, but as a complement to your website, never as your sole source of selling. Let's take eBay. It used to be a lot more popular than it is now because Amazon's overtaken it. And if you put all your resources into building a really successful store on eBay, and suddenly eBay isn't so popular anymore through no fault of your own, well, then your revenue is going to take a hit. Whereas if you have your own website, then you're in full control of all these things. But yes, you should use these things to complement. So yeah, Amazon, Etsy, Walmart, if you're in the US, and it has forgotten about eBay, I would also look at it as well. Of course, you can sell on Facebook, you can sell on TikTok as well now. Yes, by all means do it, but always make sure it leads back to your website. There are some budget entry options for building a website. Hostinger is a very popular one. It's very, very cheap, very fast, but it's only if you've got a small range of products. You can't go very far with Hostinger for a number of reasons. It's very limited. It will get you started quite easily and quite quickly. Square is another very popular one that you can sync your point of sale on offline, which is quite good. So if you've got a physical store, I guess that's handy. They've got a free plan. It's very, very limited. And again, I don't think it's very scalable using Square. It's good, but it's going to compel in the comparison of some of our top options. Equid or Eastwid, however you want to say it, very, very good for adding to an existing website. So if you have a website that isn't e-commerce, you can actually use this to bolt onto it. And that is quite good. But again, it takes you to a new URL, which I don't like. And it again, for scalability, for plugins, for a lot of the things you might want to do with your store in terms of marketing, making it a better user experience, I don't think Equid's very good. And GoDaddy's another one that's very, very fast to set up. Their built-in marketing social calendar is quite handy, but there's lots of other things that can do that as well. And it's just not that great for e-commerce. It's average. Compared to some of the options we have out today, there's much, much better options. Yes, they're a little bit more expensive, but if you're going to put so much time into this, spending an extra $15, $20 a month in the long term is going to be much, much more beneficial. There's also BigCommerce, which I don't know why AI decided to put it in here, because it's not really for small businesses or anyone starting out. This is for big businesses. This is something that a lot of the big corporations use on the mega e-commerce stores. So it's great for that. Very good for industry. They don't have their own transaction fees, but you've got to put in your own payment gateway like Stripe or PayPal, Braintree, whatever that happens to be. And very, very good for international currencies. Very expensive, very complex, and it's just too many features for most small shops. If you are a big company and looking to do something really impressive with your website, yes, BigCommerce is probably the one, especially if you've got multiple global locations. But I think the vast majority of people watching this, that's just not going to be right. It is an enterprise-grade tool, cross-channel selling, international shipping, very, very good for all of that, but not good for most of us. So that leaves us with just the top four. Squarespace, these guys have been around for a long time. Very, very nice creative aesthetics. And let's take a little look at Squarespace, actually. These guys are probably the best. If you're selling high-end products, you need something where the look of the website is the most important thing. Well, Squarespace certainly has that in spades. All their templates are really, really nice. If we take a little bit of a look at their e-commerce templates, that's going to suit us really well. We're just going to see some beautiful, beautiful things. I love their designs. Very simple, miles ahead of what anybody else is offering. Even just these little, the way the products are displayed, some of their carts just look amazing. They've really, really thought about that. Now, don't forget, these are all professional images as well. If you take these amazing website templates and fire on a few blurry camera phone shots, well, it's just going to spoil it. So you need to have the product photography to go with it. But really, really nice product. Really, really good amount of features as well with it. So yeah, it's a good option. Yeah, as you can see there, award-winning templates, very good interface, zero transaction fees on their more expensive plan. So you're going to pay a little bit more Don't forget, though, to get those zero transaction fees. That's just from Squarespace. Then you still need to add your payment gateway, which will have transaction fees. And of course, that's another topic altogether. The bad side about Squarespace, their apps are very limited compared to some of the better options. Because of all those beautiful images and really amazing templates, that can slow down the site a little bit. And for e-commerce, their features are quite basic compared to some of the bigger players. They've got their nice AI builder, which can help you make a website that looks good. Acuity scheduling is a really cool little tool. What that actually does, it's just a calendar syncing. So if someone needs to book an appointment with you, their tool is called Acuity, and it helps schedule you in with their appointments. It's really, really nice. And yeah, they do really cool branded invoices. But again, that's something most can do nowadays anyway. So thank you, AI, for something not very useful there. Okay, so now we're down to our top three. We've got WooCommerce. Okay, so WooCommerce is the e-commerce plugin, essentially, if you like, for WordPress users. So you've got to have a bit of technical ability. The good sides of it, it's completely free to plug into WordPress, very, very customizable. And there's a huge extension library for apps and different things that you might want to add. It's a very popular option. If you were to go to a developer to get a small e-commerce website designed, most of them are going to be using e-commerce. But the bad side of that is then that means there's technical knowledge required. If you're a fay with WordPress building, then you'll be okay with e-commerce. Of course, you've got your hosting costs, and you've got no central support. It assumes that you're technical, so it's a little bit harder to get support. You're probably going to end up on YouTube a lot. But it is open source, so you can do pretty much anything with it, which because of that gives you more SEO control because you can do anything you want with a website. But don't forget, that's going to take you to be very, very au fait with the technical side of building a website. And flexible on the payment gateways. You can pretty much add any payment gateway you like. Most of those gateways are going to work with WooCommerce and WordPress. So it's a good option. That's what their website looks like. I'll not run into the templates because there is some templates there. But this is probably not going to be the right option for most of you. But it is a good platform if you're technically able to design websites, which I guess most of you guys probably aren't. So that's WooCommerce. Great option if you're technical. And then we've got Wix and Shopify. These are probably two of the most popular online website or e-commerce store builders. So Wix itself, best for multi-purpose all-in-one. So what does that mean? What it's getting at is it's not just for e-commerce. It does many other things in Wix. I actually built my website, Be Seen on it. This is it here. I'm not a website builder by any means, but I was able to come up with something pretty funky, a little bit different. Let's get that 100%. I think it looks pretty good. As I say, I'm not a website designer, but I was able to do what I want with it, get it to do what I want. It took me a few days' work, and yeah, I've kind of left it there. I'll be doing more work on it later, some SEO, some different things. But yeah, it's decent. I find it a little bit clunky. It talks about this easy drag and drop. Well, it uses modules which kind of move around. And the reason it has them, it's so that the website can be responsive for mobile, tablet, desktop, whatever it is. But it's quite clunky and things tend to move around unexpectedly. So I don't really like it. It suited me at the time quite simply because it's non-e-commerce and you can get away with $30, $40 a month. Lots of templates, some strong SEO tools. But again, you got to know what you're doing when it comes to SEO. And that's something we're going to be teaching you guys throughout this course. Cons, steep learning curve for non-e-commerce. I would say that's a little bit harsh. I think it's quite easy even if you're not e-commerce, and especially if you're doing this course, all the SEO stuff that you're going to have to learn. We're going to cover that, and it's not that complicated, but there is quite a lot of things that you got to know, but they can be done by anyone. And non-transferable templates. So you can't take your template out of Wix and put it onto a WooCommerce site, for example, which, to be honest, is quite common with most of these online website builders. So I don't really see that as a big con. Good features, their Astro AI Assistant. Well, I find the Astro AI Assistant pretty crap, actually. So thank you again, AI. Abandoned cart recovery, that is a plugin. You got to pay for it. It's pretty cool, but it's, again, something you're going to get in all the popular e-commerce website builders. And multi-channel sales. So that lets you sell through various channels. You can plug your Wix through inventories into storefronts, into other marketplaces, which is pretty good. But again, there's APIs available to do that on most of the big channels. So that is Wix. And let's just take a look. If you were to go to the Wix Studio and start with a blank canvas, you can start from a template, which is pretty cool. I think I'd recommend most people do that. And you can see some of those templates are pretty good. There is a fair difference between these and what we see on Squarespace. I'm sure you'll agree. But this is probably a little more functional. You're going to be able to do a bit more with it, which is, I think that's much better. I would only be going for Squarespace if the look of your website is the most important thing. And it's going to be the most important thing if you're selling high-end luxury goods. But for most, I think the templates on Wix are good enough. So that's Wix. And then we go to our last one is this Shopify. This is the best for rapid growth, according to AI. I would agree with that. It's built for e-commerce. It was built from the ground up. It was never a website that did it all. It was always just for e-commerce. And that means they didn't adapt anything. It was made that way, which generally means it works better for e-commerce out of the box than anything else, which is really cool. Their support's pretty good. It's 24/7. They take great pride in how good their support is. I would agree. There's various opinions on that, but I find it pretty good. I've had to use it many times before. And the App Store is extensive. It's the biggest. If there's something a website does and you want your website to do it, well, Shopify probably have an app for that. Cons, high monthly costs. Again, it's something I would disagree with because you can get started pretty cheap for about $20-something a month. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But it's when you add things on, it can start to stack up and you can end up paying a couple $100 a month. But again, it depends how much you want out of it. You can start on a pretty low cost plan and do pretty well out of it, in my experience. Some of my clients have got really successful e-commerce stores and they're not paying any more than $50 a month. Limited checkout customization. Yeah, this is pretty true. Shopify has its own checkouts. It's okay. It's not very customizable, but there are APIs, there are apps as well that you can plug in and get more customization, but you got to pay for that. Their Shopify Magic AI is pretty good for creating new things on your website. It integrates well with drop shipping, which is good if you're going to be a drop shipper, but just be very careful. All these easy integrations with drop shipping websites where they'll put 1,000 products onto your website. Well, if it's easy, everybody else is probably doing it already, and you're going to find yourself competing with so many people, so your margins are going to suck. So I would say don't fall for that. Oh, this is so easy. Anybody can do it and make £1 million a year on their e-commerce store with drop shipping. There are good ways to do drop shipping. It's something we'll talk about lots throughout the course, but just plugging one of these drop shipping websites in usually isn't it. I certainly haven't come across any that a click of a button give you an instant inventory and people are doing well out of it. There's always one or two, but mostly people are not. And the SSL, that's your security certificate. Google loves that. It's very important for your website security, for your customer security, and that's all included as standard. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, Shopify, as I say, they got a little trial period. €29 a month, and then you've got your card rates if you're using Shopify's own payment systems, which you should. It's much cheaper. That's going to give you 10 different inventory locations, which is way too much for most people. Good support, and only one user. And if you start to grow and get a little bit bigger, yes, it gets more expensive. Once you get some staff managing, you're going to pay a little more for that. But it should pay for itself. Because the credit card fees start to come down, and then you've got the advance where you get even lower credit card fees, and you can add lots of staff accounts as well. And then there's this in-person selling by phone, which I don't personally like, but it's there. We'll ignore the plus because that's for big companies. But yeah, one of the things you'll find as well, you get this 1% back in any sales, which is nice. You get it in credits. And again, it's just a nice little kickback that Shopify are giving to you, which is really good. So it doesn't have to be so expensive, but don't forget you're going to be adding a few APIs onto this, so that the price of that might go up a little bit. There are templates on Shopify. Some of them are really, really good, but again, nothing that outstanding in my experience. There is a store for the templates. They also have lots of free ones. I can't believe anyone would pay $240 for real sticky there, but yeah. But there's some nice ones, but yeah, these are ones designed by professionals, so you would have to pay a little bit extra for them. But the free templates are pretty good as well. So that is Shopify, and that is all of our little platforms in our mind map. So another thing I did as well was create this little infographic, which was going to help me choose one, which AI thought was the best. And I was curious if it would come up with the same thing. So just bear in mind, there might be a few mistakes in this because it is AI generated, but again, it's pretty cool. So let's start with the platform scorecard, technical easy, creative control. And it's got Shopify and Wix offer no coding, whereas WooCommerce requires a little higher technical skill, as we know that. Hostinger, again, we know that was the lowest entry point. And then GoDaddy, again, another low one. This targeting high growth, I disagree with that one. GoDaddy, it's not very good for that. And then you've got your Shopify, which is focused on e-commerce, which I much prefer, and then Wix, Squarespace, they're multi-purpose. So again, if it's e-commerce you're after, if it's selling products as your main thing, Shopify that's what it's built for, We've scored some things, and this is where AI gets a bit clunky. I've asked it to score all my all these little things out of 5. Ease of setup, design templates, tech required, scalability, plugin apps, And it's rated it all out of 5. It's done a pretty good job of that, actually. I agree with most of these findings, but sometimes it does say S out of S or 6 out of 5. And that's just good old AI. But actually, the information is pretty good because Shopify is super easy to set up, as is Wix. WooCommerce, we know, isn't. Those design templates on our top 3 on Shopify, they're decent. Wix, I would probably put it a 4 out of 5 still. WooCommerce, well, again, yes, there's design templates, but you got to do a lot of the work yourself. So I'm not sure if I would say 5 stars for that. Low tech required. So Shopify, Wix, 100%. You don't need much technical ability to do it. And WooCommerce, yeah, you really do. So I agree with that. Scalability, Shopify, WooCommerce coming out as the top there. I would agree with that completely. And the plugins and apps, well, there's Shopify getting 5 out of 6. Wix getting 5 out of 6 as well. So that's good old AI. And then WooCommerce getting 5 stars. Well, do you know what? I think that's kind of wrong. Shopify is the best for the plugins and apps, but by far. Wix is pretty good. WooCommerce is very good, but I think Shopify wins overall on our plugin and apps. So then they've come up with an overall winner here, and this is for e-commerce. So the Budget King, Hostinger, but again, you're not going to be able to put very many products on that. Squarespace, the best for artists. If you want something eye-catching, again, I totally agree with that. But the number one here is Shopify. The best overall balance, setup speed, professional scalability, dedicated e-commerce. And I completely agree with that. So I think the AI has done a pretty good job. It's made a couple of little mistakes, 5s out of 6s, and the odd thing I don't agree with. But overall, from all the information I've fed in, I think it's pretty good. So that's everything that we got on choosing a platform to build your AI on. Let me just make myself a little bigger here. There is one more feature that I'm going to add to the school, and that is a little explainer video. So I made a few different ones here. I still got to decide which one's the best, but I'll just show you how these look. So it's a little e-commerce. So yeah, so it's built a little video and it's narrated it for us on pretty much everything we've talked about. And I'm going to load it up for you guys because it's a little bit of fun. Take it with a pinch of salt. You really do need that human experience. As you can see, because some of the things did come out wrong, and that's why I'm here to explain it all to you guys. And I thought this was a pretty fun way to do it. We'll compare it with Notebook LM. So I'll upload that video for you as well. I'd love to know your opinions on what you guys think in terms of apps to use and what marketplaces you guys use and what platforms that you guys are thinking of for building your website. And there is one thing that I'm going to do for AI in the next video, and we're going to build a really simple website for e-commerce in about 15 minutes. I'm going to do it live for you guys, and we're going to use some AI to do that. And we're going to plug it into Shopify, our number one. I'm going to show you guys how easy it can be. But for now, I hope you enjoyed my little Notebook LM overview of the most popular and the best e-commerce platforms. I hope you learned something. I hope it's helped you make a decision. And if you're still not sure, post up in the community. Let me know what you're thinking, where you're stuck, and I'll be very happy to help. So for now, we'll see you guys soon.